You know, I talk about Magic Mind because I've been drinking this stuff for a while. And I don't really talk about the adaptogens and the nootropics. And why is that, Helen? Because I don't really know what they do. I know nootropics helps you think and deal with stress. And adaptogens, I guess it helps you adapt. But you know me, I'm down for the ceremonial grade matcha. I put a link in the show notes, everybody, if you want to try Magic Mind. I recommend you do. Okay, Helen, start the show, please.
It's time for Respect the Process, a short chat about commercial filmmaking. Here's your host, Director Jordan Brady.
Well, thank you, Helen. Listeners, it is late at night, February 26, 2025. I'm outside in the trailer. My lovely and talented wife, Jeanette Godoy, is asleep. And I wanted to get this podcast up. I've been sitting on this interview for a few weeks. Charles Barclay and his company is called Hollywood Secret Service. They make treatments for directors and offer creative services, storyboards, video treatments, mood films. Helen, what's a mood film, you ask? Oh, it's just great. And they do the AI magic. You can see it on their website. And it was a great chat with Charles. And I'm coming off, when we had this conversation, I'm coming off a soapbox, air quotes, an article that I wrote for Little Black Book, where I talk about treatment reform and, what's that, Helen? Put a link in the show notes? Great idea. So if you're on Apple or Spotify, I'll put a link in the show notes there. It's a pretty good article. And Charles commented on it, and I said, well, by golly, why don't you get your butt over on the podcast? So this is that chat. You're going to love it. And then, like, I don't know, a week or so later, I had to write a treatment. And I like to write my own treatments. And I even thought, you know what, I'm not going to write it. I bet you Charles and his team can write a better treatment and do the visuals and the whole deal. But they were booked. And I ended up writing the treatment. I thought I did a pretty darn good job. And I spent some money to have pictures pulled, photoshopped, the layout done all fancy from my friend Randolph, and who, by the way, I've been working with for several years and I've never met in person. Randolph and I have a phone email relationship, and it's dandy. He's top of the rock himself. And so I spend money on this treatment, I turn it in, and I got ghosted. They didn't even respond. Like, yeah, got the treatment. And there was some excuse, and then, like, what I do is I hope I'm making sense. When I get the storyboard and I'm going to pitch on something, I print it, I scribble my notes, I do drawings, I pull images, and I'm ready for the pitch. Like, I have a flow of what I want to do and how I want to talk about the spot. And even the creative director pointed out, like, wow, you got notes, you're ready to go. It was a great call. That's why I invested in a treatment. Like, I wanted to look better than Jordan Brady on Canva. I use Adobe Express, but it's the same thing. Okay, so I have my storyboards with my doodles, and I keep those throughout the shoot, or at least until I have shooting boards, and then I transfer notes and the project's evolved, and I've collaborated, and the clients had notes, and blah, 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 and then I throw them away. But if I get that little feeling where, like, oh, this job is just not going to happen, too much time has passed, I have a spidey sense, it's gone south, and this is just in my head, right? I'm just thinking, like, well, I haven't heard from them. So I ripped them up. I turned in the treatment on a Friday. I ripped them up Wednesday morning because there was a holiday that Monday. So I ripped them up Wednesday morning going, nah, it's not going to happen. We would have heard. And the EP is reaching out, and it's crazy. And then Friday, a week later, the project went in another direction, and I want to know why. I always try to get feedback, and it was, well, someone else offered more for less. And I'm like, Okay, I can live with that. I hate to lose on money, but we were already like whittling the bone. Is that an expression? Did I just make that up, Helen? We were whittling the bone to get to the budget, and I thought I offered an embarrassment of riches in terms of alt bits to do, and I think the comedy should shine through more than the glossy treatment. But I don't even know if they read the treatment, because what I pitched, maybe they just read the first page and go, oh, he doesn't want to do everything. He wants to do it great instead of spreading resources too thinly. Well, that's my rant. Needless to say, I laugh and I wish the team, in fact, I wrote an email and said, hey, thanks for having me pitch. I hope you have a great shoot. No doubt, you picked a great director. Have fun. In fact, I don't even care, and I've said this, if some of the ideas that I pitched stick with you and resonate, keep them. When am I going to do that particular bit again? I'm not. You can hear I'm frustrated more over the lack of communication. Basically, like 98% ghosted. And I just think that's wrong. And trust me, well, that's all I'll say. If you want to come to Commercial Directing Bootcamp, there are 4 spots left for the April 5th in LA Bootcamp. I'm only taking 10 filmmakers. And if you sign up, I will give you my course on how to write treatments. Christina Archer has, who, by the way, Helen was an award. She got the scholarship to Commercial Directing Bootcamp eons ago. She just signed with a new production company. I think I've said this on the show. She had a spot with Flo on the Jumbo Sphere. They don't call it the Jumbo Sphere, but I do. Anyway, sign up for bootcamp. It's going to be fun. It's a great group of filmmakers already. I just had a one-on-one onboarding call with one of the filmmakers who works, I can't say the name of the company he directs for, but the initials are Pixar. And I'm impressed. And I said, you're going to be teaching us some things. They make the cartoons, Helen. Okay, let's get on with it. I'm going to post a Magic Mind link, a bootcamp link, and a link to the soapbox on treatments that I wrote. Check out Hollywood Secret Service, and Charles's site is really, really swanky and slick and professional. And if you can use them and get a hold of them and get on their schedule, by golly, I think it'd be worth it. Okay, everybody, enjoy. Tell us, what is your company?
So Hollywood Secret Service is a small studio team. We're based in Brighton in the UK, which is about an hour outside of London. And we specialize in putting together directors' treatments.
Soup to nuts. You'll write them, do the layouts, the images, the GIFs, the GIFs, the movies, the links.
Yeah. So what started initially is just research and layout, because I do visuals, so I kind of stuck to what I know best. And over the past couple of years, we've grown to get to a point where we can be that kind of full service, one-stop shop. So
that's awesome.
Offering everything, which helps with the process, because it can be a bit frustrating having all the moving parts and someone's doing the writing and the director's somewhere else, and then we're putting it together, and we're at the last point, obviously, if we're specialized in doing kind of research and layout. But it's really helped kind of bringing writing into the fold as well, because we can just have control over the process. We can make sure that we're fitting things in. There's all of that open communication, which is really important for us as well. Making sure that everything's transparent, open, always easy for anyone to jump in and kind of add comments and stuff.
And back us up that Charles what is your background that you started making treatments?
So I started running at production companies in London, and at the time I was doing a graphic design degree. So what happens is you come in, you're having your chats, and then they find out you're doing graphic design. Then you get dumped with the treatment, and you're like, "Oh, what's the treatment?" Initially wanting to go in there, I guess, to kind of be a director, I think, but actually finding this other part of the process, which was really interesting because it combined my love of all of these parts of the visuals and the ideation process and that kind of blank sheet of paper, and being able to work it all out and then not have to kind of worry about all the shoot stuff and how to actually do it. So I started in production companies doing that, kind of got a bit more formalized doing that, and went in-house at Moxie Pictures.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
After that, I moved into TV. So I worked at Comedy Central and I worked at Channel 4 for creative for a bit, which was sort of 7 years doing TV promos, both writing and cutting those, which is tapping into that kind of blank sheet of paper side.
And they were graphic design heavy promos?
Not necessarily. They were maybe gag heavy promos.
They were what heavy?
Gag heavy. So like always kind of the comedy side of things.
Yeah.
Comedy. But that was a really good job in terms of being For Creative is an agency and a production company that does all the work for Channel 4. And as a promo editor, director, you get to work on different types of jobs. So you're working on comedy, you're working on sports, you're working on drama, and you become really, really versatile. You get kind of very strong with the process. And that's kind of really helped with treatments as well, just being versatile, working it all out together. So I was doing that, but I still was doing treatments as well, kind of like evenings and weekends, and loved it. And just wanted a new challenge, and started kind of testing the ideas, and had some really wild ideas, which was like no win, no fee treatments. It kind of getting really.
That's a terrible idea.
Well, it's
no win, no fee. Did you?
I know, but
you still have that?
I mapped the whole thing. I went like proper Enigma style. I was just like in lockdown, locked in a small study, just working it all out on a whiteboard, thinking I was genius. But then when sort of lockdown ended, I took it to some clients and they were like, "This is probably the worst idea we've ever heard." But they were all, the thing that also helped, like they all express the same problem, right? Which was they have a small handful of people that they trust to do their treatments. And the issue is that none of them are ever available.
Right.
So they spend so much time, effort just trying to book people, and then they're taking chances. So it was just quite clear that the best thing to do was take some of what I'd learned at For Creative in that kind of agency mindset, where you have a team that can work things out together, rather than that earlier version where it was with freelancers, because I tried that, and that's also a terrible idea because you just have no control over the work. And I felt like I had to have some sort of pride and be able to put my name behind it rather than.
Wait, just so I'm clear, are you saying that there was an earlier iteration of Hollywood Secret Service that was you managing freelance treatment designers and writers and layout artists, and that was, you were more like an agent, whereas now you're more a boutique that creates these, and you have a structure and a pipeline?
Yeah. So now we're a studio team. So I operate as the creative director, oversee the work, and we've got a team. It's me and my wife Emma, which is lovely. Yeah, and
that's great, Emma.
Yeah, it's
how'd you meet Emma? In the business?
At uni.
So it's cool.
Yeah, college,
university, uni. You call it there in the
yeah. So we've been together for a while, and it's lovely. We trust each other and love each other, so it works out perfectly. And then we've got a team of 4 who have come from agencies, design companies, So understand the process, which is, quite a hard thing to just pick up a designer and just go, this is it. They never really quite get it. But we've got a small team and I'm just training them, and we're working on these projects together, and we get the benefit of having this collective, as it were.
With a system.
Yeah.
With a system that anyone could plug into, and not that there's going to be uniformity in each from one treatment to the next, because I'm sure you put individual style and splash, whatever the creative calls for, you're going to custom tailor the look and vibe. So the creative and the director or whoever's pitching the show, whatever you're doing, the treatment has its own voice that is reflective of the person that's putting their name on it. But there's a system to keep you efficient and make it affordable for people like me. And like you said, it's based on trust. If I know you or if I know one of your teammates, I'm going to go, okay, she's part of a team. They're going to make it great. And I can expect it by Thursday night so I can look at it, and we're going to turn it in Friday, blah, blah, blah.
This is it. So it's having consistency rather than just a bit. So in the consistency, it's that consistent quality in expectations, and we can get through a lot more together than we could if we were just on our own. So we've got someone who's specialized in doing After Effects, so we can do After Effects snazzy titles and bits and pieces when necessary, and just plug all of these different elements in as we're doing the treatment, which helps. It kind of gives a better product, and we kind of manage it all and make sure we get it in on time, which sometimes we can't keep hold of everything, but we really try our best. But having like a good relationship with the director helps with that, obviously. And for us, it's just trying to build long-term relationships with clients and kind of have longevity to it rather than just turning around and doing a quick treatment. So we kind of got small projects.
How many can your team do at any given moment? How many treatments can you be working on?
So we can do 4, but ideally we don't always do 4 because we might get a little bit burnt out. It's quite nice, having kind of more intense moments and then being able to kind of step back and share the workload with someone else. But what is quite useful is instead of getting kind of like bogged down with one treatment or hitting a wall, which it used to happen with me quite a lot when I was working on my own. It's just so much easier to turn around, ask someone, have they seen this? Have they been using this recently? Have they got a solution for this? So that's kind of been a really nice part of the process. But, realistically, we're kind of doing 2 a day. And then busier periods, we can kind of get up to 4 or so. And of course, there are some days where we're not doing 2 a day, and it's kind of like emptier days. But those are great, because then we're just like filling on to 1, which is...
It's weird. It's such a cottage industry. So to scale it, to make it profitable for 4 people to be on a team, you have to do a certain amount. You have to do some volume versus like a lot of times I'll hire someone to do the layout, and I'm their only gig for the 2 days, like a day of research. I pick some photos or whatever, and then a layout day. And again, I'm writing. So take us through like the platinum level treatment process where a director from Moxie calls, or the EP calls, or head of production. They say, we want Hollywood Secret Service to do a treatment. It's got to have pictures and some little clips that play. And the director is a terrible writer, so I need you to write it. What is the process, and Do you listen to a phone call to start? Do you talk to the director? Take us through that.
Definitely. So the best thing that can happen is for us to have access to the call where the director has been talking to the agency about their idea and how they're going to approach it, because there is a lot of information on there that we can use for our image research, and especially if we're doing writing on that job as well. And to have access to all of the decks and any additional information is very, very helpful, and obviously doesn't always happen.
But you're seeing the scripts, the director, the agency's brief that they send out to directors. We want your take. And they give you context for the campaign. Here's the brief and stuff that we don't really care. I mean, we care, but let's just jump to page 37 where the script is.
I know that you might jump to like straight into the script and things, but it is useful to see how they've presented it. So,
oh yeah,
good. So like for us, when we're doing the layout, like what's their expectation? Because if you get it where it's all like amazingly done and someone's seen loads of treatments, is like, oh, we're gonna step it up a bit, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be tough. We're really gonna have to like knock it out of the park to impress the agency here.
Well, because their decks, their PDFs and Google Docs that they send to us are amazing. They have a bigger staff than the 4 of you, 5 of you, right? I mean, I've told agencies, and I probably talked about it on this podcast, where I'm talking to them going, hey, whoever photoshopped the lumberjack with the turkey knife, I'm just going to put that back in my treatment. I'm not going to try to outdo you because you've already done it. I've seen now with AI, I've seen, because it was Photoshop. Now it's AI where an agency art director or creative director is so good at their Mid-Journey game. I'm like, yeah. I mean, and that was kind of the point of my article. Let's not go there yet. You get all the material, you get the call, you get the brief, you get the scripts. Then I'm assuming you do a phone call with the director.
Not always. So because we're working with people, I'd say the majority of the jobs that we get, the best situation is where we've worked with the director a few times. We understand what their voice is like, how they are. We have a good relationship with the production company. They can say, this is your deadline, just get it in for them. And we're working with people internationally. And I think the type of person that the type of director that we work with might travel a lot, shoot a lot.
Top shelf.
Yeah. So we're the service part that we're providing is the reassurance that we get it and it's going to be done, rather than a director who's on shoot or in midair just wondering what's happening. Is this all going to be sorted? Trying to tear away time. So a lot of the time we've worked with the director, and I think for their process, we know that call is everything. So if we can't have a call with the director ourselves, we definitely need to have that call, and we can just tear that apart. We set up a Google Doc. We note everything down. A couple of us will listen to the call so that if we have missed something, someone else might have picked it up, and we try and break that down into points. And then from that, we can craft it out. Okay, we did this last time. This is a good little phrase that they like to use. We understand their voice. Here are all the points that we need to make. And we know that's got to go in the writing. That's what it's got to look like. So yeah, the call is really, really important. And actually the call face to face with the director is a luxury,
Okay, good. And then, so let's say you have a brief exchange with the director, maybe it's even an email. Then your team goes off and writes while one of you writes while one of you does.
So the writer on a freelance. So we don't have the writers in with us. So we've got a small team of writers, and a couple of them are directors who are kind of
moonlighting.
Yeah.
Do they work under a cloak of anonymity?
Yeah, they've got a little doll which actually really helps. It's
pen name.
never the intention. It just worked out really well. That was like we got all these like hunky dolls. And it's like great. You can just be this one.
Well, I think you're joking, but years ago on this podcast, I had the moon unit.
Oh yeah,
which is what's that?
I love that, the way that they kind of have all of those like aliases and things.
Yeah, well, it's somewhat like your Hollywood Secret Service in that everyone wants to pretend that the director is writing the treatment because it's called a director's treatment, and I'm speaking strictly with commercials now. Like I know you do other like Netflix pitches and movies and such. But what I liked about the moon unit was that cloak and dagger kind of thing. And some of them, like one of them I happened to meet this person in person at an event and realized we had worked together. And it was beneficial to keep her or his or their identity a secret because they didn't want people to know that they did this. And that was 10 years ago. So maybe now it's more out in the open. But like Randolph Scott, who I use for treatments for visual and for the layouts, he wears it on his sleeve that he's a treatment writer, producer, whatever you call it.
Yeah, I mean it's handy in our case. So some of our writers are themselves, and it's just ones who are commercial directors. But they're really annoying because they're working most of the time. So generally what's happening is we might have a bit of crossover. So we know on those first couple of days, that's writing and research. So layout might be finishing up a separate job at that time.
Oh, leapfrogging. They're since the one you've already done and that you've already written and pulled for.
So they're doing that layout. And yeah, at that same time, we're doing 2 days of research, or one day. I mean, it kind of jumps around depending on how long the script is. And writing is a couple of days as well. So it's those first couple of days, and then we can kind of get layout onto it. And if someone is available, we can start thinking about layout as well, putting in those kind of like first draft of words, sectioning it out. But this is why it's helpful having more people all in the same place. We can just turn around and talk to each other, ask them which bit's ready. And yeah, it just lets us get a little bit ahead of the process so we can start sharing, make sure we're involving the production company as well in the whole process. So that everyone can kind of keep track on where things are. But what we are finding is that if initially we were breaking up research and layout, but now we're trying to do more where the person doing the layout is also doing the research, so that they're kind of very familiar with the imagery and the job and the combinations of it.
Makes total sense. True or false, the recorded phone call or Zoom now with, like I use Otter AI, can generate a summary of that call and even be told through its AI to write a treatment. Or you could copy and paste it into ChatGPT. True or false, that could make a good treatment.
So false, it's not. It will help probably with the structure, but treatments already have a pretty strong structure. So it kind of doesn't really help at all. When we started using ChatGPT, we're like, oh, this is going to be great. We're just going to feed in a bunch of treatments. ChatGPT, this is what this person sounds like. Here's a job, here's a script, and we've been testing it. It's just, it's rubbish. You spend so much time trying to work it out, and actually you just lose that intimacy with it, the kind of fun and playfulness with it. It will be perfect if you just needed to write blurb that someone's going to not actually read. But we're going to read this, and people are putting investment into it. So you need to grab them visually, and you need to let them sink into the treatment. And it's ChatGPT, they can't do those little things that make it special, the kind of human.
Agreed. The other thing for the listener that's going to write her own treatment, beware of the AI, because you might say something in the beginning of a phone call, like you're pitching, right? So at the start of the Zoom, you're talking about, yeah, and everything's covered in cheddar cheese. And the agency loves it. Like, oh, that's great. And then someone later on goes, now that I think about it, cheddar cheese wouldn't really work. It should probably be, chocolate frosting. And everybody goes, oh, yeah. But your initial idea of covering everything in cheddar cheese was new and fresh. So ChatGPT listens and goes, oh, Jordan pitched covering everything in cheddar cheese. And that becomes part of the treatment pitch. It doesn't know to follow and change. It just gloms onto things. It's processing data at this point in time in, let's say, February 2025. Soon it may go, oh, you changed your mind. Like so many times I will go, that isn't what Charles said. And ChatGPT will go, my apologies. You're right. He did say that, So you got to be aware. It's just not, it's not catchy nuance, as you put it.
And we've done a bunch of hiring recently, and we've read through a lot of cover letters, and it's very, very easy to tell by ChatGPT. And we use it a lot anyway. Actually for like bits of coding, which is, I guess it's got coding. So it's amazing, but a coder might look at it and go, "This is terrible." But for writing, something that we do know, we can tell immediately, and there's words that pop out, phrases, just the way it says things just seem wrong. And I think if you're going into a pitch that you actually want to win, and the chances are that someone's going to be very familiar, especially at an agency, I wouldn't put it past all of the copywriters to have at least dip their toe into ChatGPT.
Oh, they know, yeah.
Just to add with that, we get those transcripts of the calls as well, but that's not useful for us either, because
you're a listener. You're going to listen to it.
It's how those words are coming across. What are they not saying in the call? How are they responding? What are those kind of like nuances in the emotion, So all of that is valuable stuff for understanding. We're trying to work out, what are the agency expecting? We get a lot. We understand where the director's coming from. Like, they've got a really strong reel. We know their reel intimately. And
that's an interesting point. You watch their work, so you understand their point of view.
You're just trying to absorb all of the information you can, anything that we've got. So definitely understanding what the director likes, doesn't like, just from their work. Everything helps.
So you turn it in, there's maybe some revisions, and that whole process is average, what? 3 days?
For the whole treatment, or just the writing stuff?
No, the whole thing. You deliver it to the
treatment. I think, we've done treatments in shorter amounts of time, but a 30-second is 3 days. With the kind of bigger team, we're probably putting a little bit more into that. But yeah, 30 seconds is 3 days. And then if it's more, then it's going to be 4 days. And then if you've got tons of different scripts and things, and you're looking at 5 days, which is kind of how things are getting now. So yeah, they're quick turnaround, which is why I
love it.
Well, because, for us, it's in and out and it's gone. Love the short form.
Me too.
Except if you walk, and you're bogged down for like the next couple of months, and you actually have to do it as the director. But once it's gone,
someone responded to the same article you read that they love doing it because the writing the treatment is really where you're making the spot in your head. So the goal is, in whether you do it you're on your own or work with someone like yourself, the goal is to make sure that vision is, you want to project the confidence into you want the agency to see that you have a take, and they're confident you're going to be able to pull that off. And I think when you hire someone to do a treatment, there's a little more panache at least in my case. I think the call and the reel win the job. And I think the reel wins it before you even do a call. So when you get on the call to pitch, it's an opportunity to screw it up. Because if someone loves your reel, they know they want to work with you, in my opinion, 9 times out of 10. Then you have a great call and you have a great pitch. It's a vibe check. It's wonderful. Then the treatment becomes either someone can come from behind like a dark horse and blow the agency away with the treatment, with ideas and tests and animatics and previs, and just wow them. Or the treatment can just seal the deal.
Yeah. So it's arrogant to think that just the treatment's going to win. There is so much more, as you've said.
Correct.
But firstly, you definitely don't want to be the reason why you've lost. So what we do is just make sure that everyone's feeling confident that what is submitted is the best version of what could be submitted. If they'd gone somewhere else, it couldn't have been better. Right. And there have been instances where sometimes a job just completely clicks. You're like, I know this idea inside out. You've listened to the call and you're like, I understand the director. I understand what the agency want. I understand the client. It's just inherently there. And you can have loads of ideas. And we've worked on those sorts of jobs where the underdog has won because you're like, you do the treatment, like, I know this one is going to like absolutely smash it, because you do have that kind of level thing on some of those jobs. All the reels are good. All the calls, all the relationships, great. Anyone who's going to do the job is probably going to smash it. You just got to make sure it's your director that wins it, right? And so those are the ones where it's a really good opportunity to kind of throw everything at it. And again, not throw everything at it in that throw it for the sake of it, but those perfect jobs where all the small ideas that you can do, all those bits of magic, make it work. Because if you can get the agency sitting there, having just read through treatment after treatment, to get them to like turn around to someone sitting next to them like, oh my God, this is so funny. Have you seen this? Or it doesn't have to be funny. With your comedy job, you can add extra stuff. It's hard to do it on like a
pharmaceutical job or a beauty job.
Yeah, exactly. So those just have to be sensitive towards the subject matter. But those ones where you can, for us, we're trying to think, if we add this, is that person going to turn around? And if they can talk about it in the office, and having been in that agency setup and seen a treatment come in and everyone's like gathered around the table looking at it, you're like, that is how easy it is, because that's all everyone is talking about. And those other 2 treatments are just dust.
Well,
so,
I have said that most of my winning treatments are not the slickest looking, because the content, and this is what, I wanted to get to with you, the content it's there. Like, here is a page of jokes, and it's just bullet points of comedy bits that we can do, or here's 7 alt lines. And yes, there's a picture, but it's a very straightforward layout. The one thing I do love about a good layout is if there's one thought on a page or so, and an image, or however it's done tastefully, but that one thought on page 4, it's undeniable, right? Like, whether it's a quote or a point of view or an alt line, it's just like, usually for me, the first one is tone. It stands alone, or it's bold, or it's bigger than the rest of the writing. And it sums up, it encapsulates the thought of the page. Because in my mind, people are just skimming these things.
Yeah.
If they stop and see that, like, the tone is absurd, but played close to the vest. I don't know if that's a good example, but they see that and they go, okay, this guy gets it. Are you thinking of those things? Do you put those kind of things in? Do you have a philosophy towards those things?
the philosophy is to be, for me, it's trying to make it, firstly, I definitely agree with not the slickest looking, as in I've seen a lot of treatments that are, and is this going to be just audio?
The finger quotes. Charles' finger quote.
Right? Slick.
Yeah.
But it's rubbish because, you know, that's kind of the biggest thing about design is functional.
Right.
Okay. It's just everything's looking pretty and kind of feeling slick. So many treatments, and especially, I think you talked about in your article as well, with all these kind of like AI page building template things. Brilliant if you've got no time and you're just kind of getting into it and working out. But actually, it's terrible because, yeah, it makes it look really good, but it's kind of boring. This is a document, again, as you talked about, and this bigger thing of you have to grab people throughout. So yes, it's 100% making sure that you have amazing content, but making sure that content is well communicated and not boring people. So slick design can be super boring. If your writing is amazing, but everyone's the glazed over, you're not getting your points across. So the design has to be function in that it supports the idea. So for us, it's working on that skim. So we do something where we pick out words. Mm-hmm. So we bulk out words. We always put a little like subheader on a page. So anyone skim reading has 2 or 3 lines at the top of every page that they understand. Okay, that's what this page is about. This is what this page is about. And within that, we pick out all the keywords as well, so that anyone skim reading can go, okay, I get it. And anyone who likes to dig deep can read through, and it's brilliant, right? All the content, all the words that the director wanted to say. But the whole time, it's making sure that, especially at the length of them are going on, that we're constantly feeling engaged. And this is why comedy ones are so great, because you can add all of this fun stuff so that makes every page feel a bit more unexpected.
The GIFs, the GIFs, and the movies. Do you love all that stuff?
Well, it's not just like, it can become overwhelming. It's not just about putting the GIFs in, it's putting the extra little special stuff on it, doing little tricks, having someone popping in, you know, adding the fun to it as opposed to just pictures. Obviously, the pictures have to be great. Obviously, the words have to be great. All the content has to be great, but it's got to be engaging from start to finish. Otherwise, you've lost people.
Charles, there was maybe it's still around. Beauty AI was one of the first AI sites. This is like 2016-ish. You'd have a website, a web page for your treatment, and it could handle the GIFs and videos and little clips you could make. And I would make a clip, or go to Vimeo and go to Giphy and do it all. And then the agency producer would call and go, hey, this is really cool. Could you just make a PDF? They don't have time to. And now I'm choosing where the ostrich pops in the GIF. Like I go back and make a dumber version.
Yeah, it's made it a little bit more difficult because now we've kind of got to think about how things move, and that adds time and all of those things that we could have done in a mood film. And now just the pages feel like you're just watching sections of a mood film. It's really handy, obviously, when you're trying to describe a camera move, and you can have a camera move in there. The good thing about the static treatments was you could take a frame from anything and kind of make it mean something different.
It's more elegant.
Really elegant, and obviously a nightmare to put together in a short amount of time, but great when you get the end result.
Now, Charles, I have the gift of gab, a silky smooth voice, and a quite handsome on camera. And I'm just being objective.
Feel that, yeah.
So I have a handful of clients, especially if it's repeat business, where they look forward to the video treatment, where I set up a camera, this microphone, sometimes straight to my computer, usually to a camera.
Yeah.
And I just talk them through each spot. And then I'm laying some images. I'm cutting some like B-roll of either, the Titanic, or sometimes my own stick figure etchings, or casting choices or references. It's always Jack Black or whoever. And they're really well received. But for a new client, it's like, well, isn't he going to do a treatment too? Like, well, just watch for 15 minutes and you're done.
Yeah.
But on your site, it says video treatment. I don't think you mean that. Like, could I upload my rambling for 12 minutes about a project to you and you could layer it and edit it and put stuff on it and make it slick?
Yeah, this is the idea, and this is new as they're new for 2025.
Well, new for you, but I'm going to say 2018 was my first video treatment.
Nice. So this was the point. So skim reading, attention spans, and it's not that people have bad attention spans. It's just that that's a lot of words to get through if you're dealing with, 350-page treatments to try and conquer. So the video treatment was really effective. It isn't, well, still for us, it's a theory, and we've put together an example of how it can work with the idea that it's 2 minutes. Yeah, to the point. And like you say, it's like this. So it's a mixture of kind of like a Zoom and a mood film. And for us, it's something that we can manage because we're pulling loads of videos for our research anyway. So we've got this folder of media that we can cut together quite quickly. And
so it's not necessarily the director pitching. It's a film that you could even voice it over, expressing the vision in 2 minutes. I love this.
Yeah. So I think that the best version of it is to be able to have the director, their toolkit, seeing their eyes as they explain their idea from them. Amazing, right? But the reality is that this is not going to be possible for everyone. So how does that work? And that is, using voiceovers instead and writing a script where it's a much more succinct version of the treatment, because there are some bits of a treatment that are a little bit fluffy sometimes.
Sure.
When, like you say on your page 4, you've got your tone. This is what it's all about, right? So it's making sure you get to that really quickly and then can kind of explain other bits and kind of top line all of these sections. And that goes with the rest of a treatment as well.
Yeah, it's a supplement.
I think the agency are going to take the treatment. And this is also the silly thing with gifts. I imagine that they're just going to print it out onto like really badly and then kind of staple together this thing that you've spent ages kind of on these gifts and stuff, and they're just going to print it out and hand it over. So I think you're still going to need to have the treatment because the client aren't necessarily going to want to sit down.
I have a thought on that. First of all, I want to shout out Morgan and Nick as a directing duo at True Gent. You can learn more about Morgan and Nick at truegent.tv. They are a husband and wife filmmaking team who will do the 1 minute or even less sort of a howdy that they put a link in their treatment. And they show their gratitude and the kernel of the idea, like, and this is what you're going to read about. And we sent these spots on a reel because even though your scene's in an office and this is on a tugboat, look at the relationship between the captain and the first mate. That's how we see it in the office or whatever. They're giving context for the work that they're showing, which I think is genius. Pro tip for you all. If you could even get the director's voice from the recording, you could clone it like 11, I use 11 Labs, and then the director could narrate her own treatment video.
Isn't it? This is the great thing about technology that we have.
Have you done that, or that was new? Did I just give you gold?
So this has been discussed, because we are quite close to AI, and it's something we push a lot. So it's always looking at these technologies, and we have thought about it. We were a bit worried that it would be a bit weird, but I think we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Well, I've crossed that bridge. I am putting the finishing touches on a documentary, and there were a couple of pieces of dialogue where someone stepped on the hero's words. There was another one where we needed the story to be bridged from, this one's a little less ethical. We needed to get the story from, let's say, mid-America to Los Angeles. And it just needed one line from the hero who we were following to say, you know what we ought to do is go out to LA. And I wrote the line, cloned this person's voice. Now I told them I'm doing it.
Okay.
Because but I told them I did it, I should say, because I wanted to see if it worked before I ruffled any feathers. And it was like, look, you have the option of somehow getting to a studio, or I'll send someone to your house and you can record this one line, or I can do it. And I think it is a wonderful, ethical, creative use of AI.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I made them endorse something that they don't believe in or anything.
Yeah. That's really great. But obviously it's the worry, isn't it? Is like,
Yeah.
You're an ethical person, but like there's a big handful of people who aren't, and who are gonna, take advantage of this technology. Just having this technology is really handy, but then we'll see how it goes down. There is something really lovely about this, the kind of being talked to and seeing the person's face that they're explaining it.
Howdy, filmmakers. Jake Brady here, the editor of the pod, jumping in with a quick shout out to our new sponsor, spotschool.online. You'll find Jordan's commercial directing masterclass, how to pitch, his shadowing course, and more. Every online course at Spot School comes with a free one-on-one career call with my dad. It's your chance to talk shop with a pro who's been in the game for decades. And don't miss the 4th annual Filmmaker Retreat in Joshua Tree, happening Thursday, September 25th through Sunday, September 28th, 2025. This retreat is your chance to step away, find clarity as a filmmaker, and land better gigs. We're talking workshops on creativity, leadership, and production voodoo, all taught in a tight-knit group of 15 filmmakers. Tuition includes everything: catered meals, healthy snacks, adult beverages, workshops, your private room, and a trip into Joshua Tree National Park. Just get yourself there. So go over to spotschool.online or commercialdirectingfilmschool.com. It's the same thing. Shh, don't tell the Canadians. This is one experience you won't forget.
There's a lot of people listening right now who I'm going to venture out and say they can't afford your service. But
Yes.
they should try. They should reach out to Charles, and I'll put a link at jordanbrady.com. It'll be, when you're listening, it'll be in the show notes, blah, blah, blah. But it's going to be a little pricey. And this kind of leads back to the article, the soapbox I wrote. If I have deep pockets, I might have a better chance at the treatment that's going to wow everybody. What are some tips that we can do on our own from all your years? Like give the listener who can't afford you some tips, treatment tips.
Okay. So I think I've gone over this, and in that, firstly, listen to everything and just that's being said, not just kind of take that first call as I got it all, record it yourself, even though you're not passing it on to a treatment person. As a director, you should just record that call and listen to every detail, listen to how the agency are talking, because you're not going to get it in the moment.
What are they thinking? Are they saying something to be nice? Do they really mean it?
Yeah, it's just all of these things that you won't pick up on in the moment. But when you're relaxed, or you've got more focus and you're just working with your ears, you'll hear what they're really saying. So, that's good to note things and also just take all those notes. We like this. We didn't like this. You might have missed that when they were actually saying it, and the other thing, this is what I'm always looking for, is how we can make it stand out, because I'm thinking, yes, of course it's about like having the great content, having a really good idea. But you have to impress and you have to engage a real person at the agency. So beyond the ideas, because all the ideas that they're going to read are great, you just got to have that one thing that is going to be that takeaway, the bit that they remember over everyone else. Okay, or the bit that gets shared around the office, makes them laugh, just that one emotional connection with your treatment, so it's not necessarily, we did a really good example of this was actually, we had a director who had put all of our ideas, and this is something that I think everyone's guilty of, right? It's all in your head, and you're kind of like, you just rush through it and you're just trying to get everything down, but actually it's total mess. And we see it a lot. So it's going over it and making, if everyone's got someone they can bounce ideas off, and ideally give it to someone who isn't your producer or working at something who doesn't already know the script inside out. It's trying to make sure that anyone can understand it and that your idea is clearly communicated. On the design front, I don't think it's about having everything there. So not necessarily having, you did mention this briefly, but that you can throw too much at a treatment.
Interesting.
If you are chucking in all the storyboards and you've kind of blocked everything out, and you've made a 3D render of the living room that for your one camera, for your one like static shot, is too much. It's gonna send people off in the wrong direction. I think you want to kind of have enough that you can open up that conversation and make it sort of collaborative.
Can I tell you something? I've put etchings in, my childlike etchings. I don't think I've ever storyboarded out the whole thing, and I know people do. They'll have a storyboard artist do it, or Mid-Journey. Not only do I agree that someone may see it and go, "Oh, I didn't really see the spot like that." So now you've planted your flag on a certain way that belies future collaboration. But it also comes down to, I think, on a subconscious level, what our friend Chris Doe says. Like, you're undervaluing yourself. You're doing so much work before you even have the job.
Yeah.
And I could be, it could be a stretch here, or it could be that I'm just old, but I'm like, well, of course I know how to do this, especially if it's technical, which I wanted to ask you about. But if it's technical, I'm not going to, I'll help you, but if you award me the job, I've already done this trick, or I'll spend 2 weeks figuring out the trick. So for me to write how the trick is done, which I seldom do, it's like, no, I'm worth more. My experience is worth more.
Yeah.
I don't need to lay out in the treatment how the Technicrane's going to pick up a guy with a steady cam. How do you feel about technical, unless it's a really technical job, speaking to how the trick is done in the treatment?
What, you mean like people stealing your ideas?
No. Like, for me, the agency, I'm assuming they don't care what camera you're using, or
side of it. So boring.
Yeah, it's like, no, we trust that you're going to have a great crew, and but when people talk about the camera, I'm even surprised we still talk about the film look, because especially in North America, we're not even coloring the film anymore. Like, it could be anything. But I do feel it's important to talk about the look and feel. But when you get into color grading, it's a point of view that you're not going to be involved with.
I think that's way too excessive, where it is going to be confusing for some people, and especially when it gets sort of passed up the line to the client, they're just going to be like not interested
right
in that's not necessarily going to win it. And I think, getting bogged down too much in those technical things it's boring. I love it because I love film and I love thinking of it. But, if I were to go to the pub now and start chatting about technical things about film, like that person's going to walk away. So and as you said, and I think you said it really well, it's just clearly communicating ideas. So on your page 4, we have, this is a tone. Just make sure your idea is being reiterated and it's not jumping in a million different ways. You center it around an idea. It's not the technical tricks, or if it's a camera move, it's always motivated by your core idea, which can be super simple and just.
Well, do you have a formula that you start? Like, my formula is an opening thank you that shouldn't be too over the top gratuitous. It should be sincere. And sometimes I'll explain that I get the big idea that the commercial's trying to communicate. Then I go right into tone. And sometimes I lump tone and casting together because, especially for comedy, the casting is a reflection of the tone. It's the execution of the tone. And then there's this obligatory picture or page of people that are, like, I'll say on a call or in the treatment, these people are not available for our shoot because Natalie Portman's not going to do it, or some stock footage woman, we're never going to find her. Like, to me, that's just such a waste. But again, I'm a little cynical today. I do think it serves a purpose if you put the crazy freckle-faced kid, like you're saying, oh, this is unusual casting we don't see a lot of times. And this is not modelly people, or it should be a model because, we're spoofing that. So I do get that the casting reference images is good. And then from there, it's really like, how quickly can I get into the story? Can I write about the script? Fade in, haunted house, inside. Here's my question. Do you have some sort of, not a blanket rule, but a thought on how we should structure our treatments to take the reader through?
Yes and no. So we work with different directors who all have their approach to things, and we put our bits in, and even if we're not chatting to directors, we're still in this collaborative Google Doc. Well, we're seeing they'll be in there rearranging to how they want to rearrange that particular job.
Because the director has a thought of how the story should unfold.
Yeah, of course. Or just how they like to do these things, and that's not a hill we want to die on. We just want it how they want it, and we'll put it like this. We can move things around at any stage. How it goes in there is fine, because if we're doing the layout as well, we can just move the pages and we restructure it, and we can have a better feel of like, oh, actually, now we've had a look at it, maybe this works better kind of higher up. But yeah, we have kind of headings and sections that we try to work to, which is obviously really helpful. And a lot of the time, if we haven't had a big chat with the director and we're trying to get their voice, we'll have a look at some of their old treatments that they've written, see how they like to do things, and work with that in terms of looking at the structure, turns of phrases that kind of work for them. But to be honest, I think as long as you've got your, a short hello and you're getting your idea there so that people have the context, this is your wide establishing shot of your writing, right? You just need to make sure people have the context. They know when they read any of your stuff afterwards, which I think can go in any order, they understand what the context is, right?
Your point of view.
Yeah. What your idea is, how it's going to work, and then all of the other bits kind of make sense.
Charles, this has been a great conversation. We're going to have to wrap up here in a second, but thank you for taking the time to talk today. I've sort of railroaded you with all these questions, and you may have questions for me or topics that you wanted to cover. What didn't we cover that you wanted to talk about today?
I kind of just wanted to chat about I wanted to just kind of see how your feeling was about treatment writers. I wanted to kind of like dig more into that because, yeah, some people have a weird issue about having treatment writers sometimes, but they serve a purpose. And this isn't this isn't kind of in response to the article thinking, oh, treatment writers is bad, but it's just always interesting kind of getting a deeper understanding of how people, you know, if they think that they're bad things or they're great for some directors, because in a sense, you know, it does help level us a bit if some directors are not very good at writing, but absolutely brilliant with their ideas. And
so I love treatment writers. And just to be clear for the listener, I typically will write my own words. And like you said, I'll give it to my wife who's heard of the project, but she hasn't seen the boards. So it makes, if this is, she'll proofread for me, obviously finding grammatical errors because I'm not that educated, but she'll say, I didn't understand what this meant. And if she doesn't get it, and she's really smart, then I rewrite it. Or like, this sentence doesn't make sense. And then sometimes I'll overrule and go, no, that's a reference to something we all talked about. It's in the board. It's a sheepdog, and that's what that means. Oh, yeah, okay. Then, you know, there's some inside jokes in my writing with the agency.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So maybe it's referencing a call of something we said on the call, but then I gave that up because I'm like, oh, well, they talked to 5 people, and that was a week ago, and they forgot. But I've had people write and they nailed my voice. I think they missed out on the isms, on my particular Jordan isms that I hope I peppered into the phone call. So I've had people say, I can tell you wrote your own treatment. And obviously I got the job because there wouldn't be an opportunity for them to tell me that. There wouldn't be an opportunity for them to share that. But there are jobs that I have not won, and I think it came down to the treatment, and I wish I wish someone would have written it. And then again, third reference to Chris Doe, Pocketful of Dough is his book. To Chris Doe is, maybe there's a certain panache in having someone write it. Maybe you're a little more fancy pants in everyone's eyes if you turn in this stellar treatment. From the content to the pictures, to the layout and the GIFs. And someone's like, wow, the company's really behind him. Or, you know, in my case, I own the company. Like, wow, True Gent really invested in this treatment. They got a writer and everything. Like, what do they care? They know the writer's listening to the call. Does it need all the flourish and the Jordanisms?
Yeah. Just needs to win it.
It just needs to win
at any cost.
But it's interesting because I mentioned Randolph, who's an independent, like a freelance treatment person, and he does everything you said. He listens to the call. He's a one-man band, right? So he's listening to the call. He's reading everything. I'm sending sometimes preliminary location files and photos I've snapped around town. And he does a great job of just sort of crystallizing it down in these images. And he'll Photoshop some images and whatnot. Like, actually really great. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I Googled that same photo, but it doesn't look like what you have. And he'll make it brand friendly. There's a brand color scheme sometimes. It's not just whimsy. Like, it's the blue and aqua and the greens, the sage green, all mixed through subtly in hints. And those treatments tend to win. Now, again, I've given him the words, but I would love to be able to go, just write it. And it comes down to something we started talking about an hour and 20 minutes ago. Trust.
Good God, look at that. Yeah.
Trust. If I trust you and I trust the process of, hey, It's actually, this person's a better writer. Like I've been known to put the pen to the paper every now and then for other things than treatments. I'm okay. But I do realize there are people that that are better writers to communicate my own idea. So I'm all for it. I think it comes down to, I'm not doing the budgets of the Moxie top billing director. I'm doing 3 spots, 3 15-second spots of comedy in one day, and they're doing 4-day shoots for one pharmaceutical ad. So I think the stakes are higher, which maybe is why it's better they don't write them. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the more I think about it, it's just for us, it's just making sure that everyone, feels like there's trust in the process and they feel confident with whatever gets delivered.
Let's just spend a minute, because I brought it up early and I don't want to leave it hanging. The newer director, specifically underrepresented filmmakers, are they at a disadvantage if they can't afford the fancy pants treatment? Do you have some sort of diversity program to help new directors?
So, as I said before, we do deals with people, especially if they're going to give us work. So we can work with a company's new director and we can do those jobs shorter amount of time, and we'll put like the extra effort to make sure it kind of gets there. At the stage we're at, we don't have anything where we're able to kind of, unless they're a commercials director and doing their own separate projects, we can't necessarily always have that resource to be able to help people. Sure. But the reason, again, why I wanted to reach out was because we're sort of getting to this point now, and this was really interesting, this idea of what is it? And, it's something that I should really take away and try and spend more time thinking about and formalizing. What can we provide that will help people? That doesn't mean that they need to actually come to us, because for us, we're not holding this great secret of like, oh, this is how we do a treatment, because there's no guarantee that that's going to win it. That's just good practice. And the good practice is clearly communicating ideas and not getting things lost. For us, it's our service. We provide the service to people to use it. So for those directors, I don't know what we can do. If we provide enough resources so that they can learn how to do good treatments and communicate ideas, then that gives people an edge.
Here's what you can do. Take a treatment that you're proud of, whether it won or not. But if it's a winning one, that would be great. Redact it, right?
Yeah.
From the director's name and the product, or because it's all digital, make it a ersatz product, right? A fake product, make it. So it's almost like a spec treatment.
Right.
And I will put it at commercialdirectingfilmschool.com for people to download, or you can sell it and whatever you want to do. And I will give our listeners that treatment. Just a minimum dummy treatment. Here's another thing you could do that would help people. Just a checklist. And you being on this podcast, I think, has helped newer directors, because they're going to listen and they're going to jot down some notes, and I think they're going to have a sigh of relief. They don't have to, spend weekends away from their loved ones making this treatment. Because the treatments become like, spending your weekend on the treatment and toiling away has become this badge of honor that I refuse to play anymore. And, I worked late when I had to put it together, and even if it was like a keynote or something, I'm sweating the design because I'm not a good designer. A checklist would be nice. And if you're down with that, send it to me and I'll post it with this podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I'm going to put together that list. And just to add, so although I now might start selling them now that you've mentioned that. That's a great idea. But we actually have a load of treatments on our website that have been lorem ipsum'd out, but you can get a feel for, and we use those as examples of our work. So they're on the page, and they are as full treatments, because I think it's useful to see the length of them and how they flow, rather than just, some people that just put the 4 pages and they're like the great pages. So if anyone wants to see some treatments, and they probably need to be updated. We're not that hot on updating stuff, but we try to. There are some full treatments there, and some of them will have this idea of things making it feel a bit more exciting or a bit more memorable, or something that stands out. So visually you can get an idea. And actually what's really useful is the design's not kind of mad. It's clear. It's not necessary. There are some which are more complex, but there's nothing there that's crazy, right? And you'll see it's just pictures. It's not all storyboards. It's not all 3D renders. And with that, I think we've kept in the section headings as well, so you can get a feel for how it's structured.
Well, that's a huge help. I'm going to put a link. Obviously, I'm going to put a link to your site, but I'll find that page and link that too.
Yeah, that's just, I think you just scroll down a bit and it's in the work section. And there might be 20, 30, 40 there.
Oh, wonderful.
Just keep trying to, update them. And that's from kind of a spread of the years. So you can see some PDFs and then some more technical ones as well, which kind of like GIFs and things like that.
This has been a wonderful conversation. The show is called Respect the Process. There it is back there. Here's how we end the show. What does that mean to you, respect the process?
I think respecting the process, and this is actually something that I think is also just really important in terms of treatments, and especially for directors in their career, is it's being true to who you are and your ideas, and especially in the context of treatments, it's respecting your process, your ideas, and sticking to your guns. Because if you go out and you try and be someone else because you want to win a job, you're going to end up doing all the jobs you don't want to do, or missing out on the ones that you kind of really did, because no one else knows what your style is, how you work. So for me, respecting this process is about the creative process, having trust in yourself, not trying to emulate other people, and trying to find what you enjoy. When you did your AI video, you put something out that you enjoyed, and you found those people that enjoyed it as well. And that's the kind of world you build around you, right? And if you want a long career and doing anything creative, or anything, I guess, it's just being true to what your vision is and the way you like to work. So that's respecting the process, just respecting your own creative.
Charles, that is a wonderful answer. And thank you for being on the show. I don't know what else to say. Listeners, check out the site. And Charles, anytime you want to come back on, we'll talk more treatment.
Awesome. Are you on a boat as well?
I'm on a boat. Yes, I'm on a boat right now. Wow, that was a fun chat. I learned a lot, and I can't wait to have a project where I can have Charles and the team at Hollywood Secret Service do the treatment. Now, if you're looking for a course, I got them online, but I want you to think about boot camp. If you're on the fence about boot camp, give me a call, DM me. I'm easy to find, and I'll talk you out of it. No, seriously, we are going to have a good group. It's a tight group of professionals. 4 spots left. I've said it enough. But if you have any topics that you want to cover on the podcast, you can always reach out.
Commercial Directing Film School's mission is to help filmmakers direct commercials professionally. With online courses and in-person boot camps, we demystify the process to get you to the next level, all taught by your accessible mentor, filmmaker Jordan Brady.
True Gentleman Industries. We make commercials.